Good morning. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. It is Tuesday, March 31st, and this is our daily conversation during the period of the coronavirus outbreak. As you can see, we are practicing social distancing now at the next level of concern using this conversation over Zoom, which is becoming fast the way that people do meet in this current era while we try to work through this terrible moment that we're in. I'm joined today as our guest by Thom Kleiner, who's the director of the Westchester-Putnam Workforce Development Board. Thom is home, and I'm here in my office in White Plains. And Thom, we're very happy to have you here online, so to speak.
Thank you, George. Pleasure to be with you, of course.
We've dealt with lots of conversations about the virus outbreak itself and the public health elements of it. One of the concurrent problems is that of the economy. Certainly for people who are losing jobs, have lost jobs. There are elements that involve people who own businesses that have financial hardship to the degree where they may lose their business. So there's sort of a concurrent story of public health and then also the public economy. You're at a critical position for Westchester County and Putnam County in terms of the Workforce Development Board. Just walk us through who are the people that are most at risk for losing a job, and who are the people that are most in need of our help during this crisis?
So let me just say first, thank you for hosting this today. And, look, we're in the middle of a huge public health crisis, of course. And, the Westchester County Department of Health, my colleagues at the Department of Social Services don't always have the luxury of doing virtual calls as we're doing today. And I just want to compliment them, Dr. Ambler and Commissioner McGuire, for all the great work they're doing. But what we're trying to do as best that we can at the Career Center and the Workforce Development Board is to keep in touch, to give some hope to the clients that we were dealing with on a daily basis and those who are really most in need. Because many of our clients who use our services particularly don't even have access to the technology needed to apply for jobs. And we've been able, for example, to apply for jobs for them on job websites and to reach out to employers on their behalf. Because, in a crisis, those with little margin for error are frequently those who are in need of most help, those who have barriers to employment, childcare challenges, transportation, other economic challenges. So our client base, those who need our free services, are the ones we're really particularly trying to help, and we've had some success so far doing so.
I know that we've heard the general concern that this society's economy has shifted toward a service economy rather than a manufacturing economy. And in a service economy, we have many hourly workers. We have a lot of gig employees now. That's a new phrase for those who have been around for a while. People who will do project by project rather than being a fully employed and benefited individual. Are these folks sort of in the crosshairs of this economic slide?
Well, really, nobody is really exempt from feeling the pain of this downturn, of course. And I think, one thing in the stimulus bill that just passed that is going to be helpful to people is the loosening of requirements for unemployment insurance. I mean, 95% of the calls that we've been getting at the Career Center and our colleagues at the Department of Labor, which have the responsibility of directly dealing with unemployment insurance matters, are dealing with is, of course, the frustration in getting through to unemployment and simply getting those benefits that people need and deserve. So the new federal legislation it has loosened up the requirements. So I just want to emphasize that even though people have frustration in applying, they should keep at it. They're not going to be penalized for not getting through right away to unemployment insurance. And excuse me, the pandemic unemployment insurance benefits, it's this whole separate category, are available for those who need it. But yeah, those in the gig economy, the service workers are particularly at risk and could benefit, from these new loosening of requirements. And those are the ones that we're going to continue to try to assist at the Career Center.
I gather that these benefits are retroactive, so that if you're trying to get through and you can't get through on a particular day, when you do get through, there'll be a retroactivity back to an earlier point.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, look, I'm going to follow the Cuomo-Latimer model of trying to be as transparent and truthful as possible in this. The 80,000 people that registered last week for unemployment in New York is absolutely not a representative number of what's going on. It's much, much higher than that. I mean, because of the number of calls, literally millions of calls to the unemployment insurance hotline in New York State, that has to lead one to believe that the actual number is far higher. So we are in for a really rough ride, all of us, and particularly, my staff at the Career Center and Workforce Development Board and the Department of Labor. When this crisis breaks, there's going to be a challenge that we've never seen, certainly in my experience at Workforce Development and working for the Department of Labor. So I think those numbers are vastly understated. I think that we're going to see what the Thursday numbers bring, but I think we're all going to have to reconfigure what we do in terms of how we offer this assistance to those who really need it. And finally, people should be patient. And it's very difficult for us to say that, but as you said, people will not be penalized for however long it takes them to get through to the unemployment insurance system. It is a system that is an automated system. That's the way it's always been. It just never has had these kinds of challenges, not just us, of course, around the country.
Well, and I can imagine that as we're sitting here talking on the last day of the month of March, tomorrow, April 1st, begins another round of rent or mortgage payments that are owed, bills that are due, and the stress for people that don't have revenue coming in the front door must amp up dramatically when we start seeing it, that we're falling behind in our personal life on these bills. Thom, tell us, organizationally, how are you working with business, with educational partners in the community to provide assistance?
So, as you know, better than anyone probably in the county, we have great education business partners, that not-for-profits that are doing great work and continue to. So we've had at the Career Center weekly calls with the Westchester County Association. Jason Chapin is now the director of workforce development there, that we work with for a long time on some of our grant programs that you're familiar with. And he's organized a LinkedIn site for people to post jobs and a clearinghouse for those positions. We've worked with Marcia Gordon at the Business Council of Westchester, who has referred us to some open positions. For example, a plastic mask manufacturer in New Rochelle that has been able to hire people on a temporary basis to pick up kits, take them home, build masks, and bring them back and get paid for those services. Westchester Community College and our other educational institutions are posting jobs. And we're all, I think, breaking down whatever barriers existed to the extent that they did to, work together, recognizing this is a unique crisis that can't keep us in our respective silos. We really have to think a little bit more broadly, maybe, and not be territorial. Sometimes there may have been issues in the past, with the Department of Labor and the career centers and people, trying to figure out which entity they were going to get help with. And our feeling is, if there was ever a time for functional alignment, as we call it, it's now, so that we can really, help our customers as best we can. And that's had some success with our partners.
Well, it's encouraging, Thom, to hear that there are some job availabilities out there. I guess that there's probably a general perception that no one is hiring and everything has come crashing to the ground. But you did mention a couple that are out there. I gather the U.S. Census Bureau is still interested in hiring people as well. I've heard that Phelps Hospital is hiring certain types of folks as well. And so it's valuable to know what those options are. That is certainly something that you and your team can help provide. What if a person needs additional training? The job that's available is not, something they've done before.
That is available. And actually, you mentioned the census. And before I forget, I just want to emphasize it's so important. And your team at planning is doing a great job with Census 2020. We really want to emphasize that any opportunity we can to have people fill out the census so we get the federal assistance that we need and deserve. And also our VITA volunteer income tax assistance program is still ongoing. We'll have information on our website for people who have relied on us to file their taxes and get refunds, and they need to file at myfreetaxes.com. But in terms of training for our clients, people do need help with resume writing, interviewing skills, those things that we have provided on a more routine basis in normal times. But our career counselors, Leslie Meggett, Fawn Fisher, and Melissa Thompson, working with our business service reps, Nahshon Halevi, under the guidance of O.J. Yiser and Linda McKenzie Dougherty. I really want to give them credit for what they're doing above and beyond. We're offering those services now, either remotely through video conferencing, or again, because so many of our do not have the access to the technology needed, by the old-fashioned method of picking up the phone and having a phone call and giving some hope and some encouragement and a lifeline. And that number is 914-813-6555. And I can repeat that at the end. But we are offering those training sessions. We're actually migrating our in-person training for those services to online platforms that we will be able to reveal, or I should say share, in the next couple of days through our website, Westchester-Putnam-onestop.com, and other means of communication. And we'll get that word out through us and through the county exec's office, through you.
And Thom, I know that both the state and the federal government have moved the tax filing deadline from April 15th, which would be just about 2 weeks, out until July. But even with that, what's the status of the volunteer income tax assistance program, VITA?
So that, as I briefly alluded to, that is ongoing, but we're, of course, working to make it a virtual program until we're able to, again, have the in-person meetings that we need. So temporarily, people should file myfreetaxes.com. That is the site that people should go to and get the same or similar services that they were able to get through our great volunteer counselors who, working through WestCOP, were able to provide those services. So again, we'll provide that information through our Career Center website and other means of communication, and share it again with you so that you can share it through the communication that you're sending out. But people should not be discouraged. We had several thousand filings through VITA that were really valuable for people to get their earned income tax credits, as you know. And we'll continue to provide those services. Obviously, going out until July 15th gives us the opportunity to really reach out to those who need it for that valuable service.
And Thom, this is probably, to close, the most unfair question, unless you have the actual crystal ball that can tell us the future. And if you do, there's more than just this question to ask. But what's the long-term prognosis for the job market as you see it? We're all guessing. But what do you think is going to happen out there in the long term?
So let me just say this. I mean, my sense is, and I'm sure you share this, this is going back to what we said at the beginning. This is a health crisis. This is not something that was caused by some structural economic downturn that we were all previously familiar with, 2009, 1982, any other previous crisis. This is a health crisis that will pass and that we will recover from. Well, of course, we don't know is what the contours of that recovery will be. How many small businesses will be able to survive, and how many services that we at the Career Center and at Westchester-Putnam Workforce Development Board can continue to provide through career pathways and other means to, if people can't recover their former jobs, get them into new high-tech, high-growth industries, IT, biotech, and healthcare, for example. So, I mean, personally, and this is just my best guess, I think the curve is going to be steep in the recovery. The problem is, of course, we don't know when that recovery is going to start. And I think with the what the Fed's passed in terms of the $2 trillion stimulus is a great first step. Unfortunately, it's only a first step. And there has to be more aid for what the recovery will look like, linking more people to training. There hasn't been that much training money. There isn't much in this current bill as much as there was in 2008. So we need that. I'm sure you'll advocate for that. Hopefully when that happens, we'll be able to come out of this. But what all of us can do now is simply offer the best resources that we can, keep working, whether it's on the front lines with the health and social services or now remotely as we're doing. And obviously we thank you for what you're doing from the county executive to share news on a daily basis. I think it's really encouraging for people to hear.
Well, we've been talking with Thom Kleiner, who is the director of the Westchester-Putnam Workforce Development Board. And again, from the comfort of the other end of the Zoom camera, this may be our new normal for a while. We want to thank Catherine Chaffee for taking two old timers and bringing us into the 21st century. Tom's not as old as I am, so sorry about that, Thom. Didn't mean to.
I'm gaining ground in you every day, George.
But we look forward to getting back to normalcy, and when we do, Thom and his team will be there to help people as we start the rebound of the economy once we rebound from this coronavirus outbreak. I'm Westchester County Executive George Latimer. Thanks for watching. We will try to continue these helpful Facebook discussions with various people, both inside and outside of county government, just to add a little depth to the challenges and how we're trying to address those challenges here in Westchester County. Have a wonderful day and stay safe.